Hey, good day, good night, good evening, depending on what time you happen to be watching this. Welcome to another episode of House of Stars. I'm your girl Starre, and today, as you can see from the title, I am doing the long-awaited video on the world's pandemic virus going on right now, coronavirus. I've touched on this a bit. In a couple of my lives because as you know I do live readings and stuff like that or do live videos, and I've answered questions for a couple people, but I've never formally did like a video on it. I'm gonna be honest. I did mention, I believe I mentioned this in my 2020 reading, and it was one of those things that when it comes to these viruses, like I usually don't allow myself to get caught up in the hysteria of things. I usually take the moment to kind of like sit back and look at the deeper meaning as to why this is happening. What are God's messages that He may want me to portray and give to those that watch me or view me, and respect my opinion or resonate rather with my opinion. And that's usually how I kind of flow with things. Because I'm a firm believer in doing things in God's time, and I guess I feel like I'm in a space now to start doing things in God's time. Um, but everyone that knows about the coronavirus, it started in Wuhan, China. It's I think the first time we heard about it was sometime maybe in like late January, February, or mid to late January, and it's now moved its way pretty much worldwide. So I wanted to tap into this because one thing I was fully getting, um, I was getting this just the other day. I broke into prayer, and I just got into worship, and I started anointing my doors. And as I started anointing my doors, I started to think about Exodus, the story of Moses, when Moses had freed the slaves, and how the Pharaoh didn't initially want to free those slaves. So God brought down a number of different plagues until his people were freed. So that's something that I feel like that this is what this time and what we're going through right now resonates with that story. If you guys haven't watched or heard of the story or read the Bible at all, you could always look online, or you can just go to like the Bible Project, which I'll link their channel in the description box. I think they do touch on it. But it's a very interesting story. But it reminded me of Moses in the Bible. So and the first sons being struck down. So let me just get into it because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I want to tie into, especially a lot of things that are happening, especially when it comes to the elite, famous people, people that we presumably looked at them as untouchable people. Like, oh my gosh, like they have all the money, they have all the power, the admiration, like there can't be anything that can touch them. But if you notice that, you know, this year's kind of been a year where a lot of people that were once shown or displayed as strong are now being brought down to being weak, or not just weak, but being brought down to being human, relatable. So let's just get into it. I'm just gonna do some breathing. I'm just gonna come out and say it. This is a man-made disease. This disease is very man-made. When I'm seeing it, and I feel like why I see it man-made because I'm literally seeing three parts of the disease, and it's like almost like they're being compiled together. But like it's like how it's made when one thing is removed and one is added to the other, it causes a certain reaction. So whatever that means, I'm not no scientist, but that's what they're showing me. That this is definitely a man-made disease. Most of all, what I'm also sensing that when it comes to this disease is that this disease was actually is being it's almost like it's a test. It's used to be tested in a way. And I think this all has to go into um when it comes to mass control, mass production, mass manipulation, is where I see that this disease kind of plays on that. And there's been testings and stuff like that, what's been happening. Like I said before, I remember having this conversation with my friend Lamar, and I also had this conversation in my live. I feel like by mid-April, a lot of this is going to die down, a whole lot. because I think in some way or shape or form they're going to come up with some kind of cure, or at least be knowing that there's some kind of cure, to kind, or antidote of some sort to kind of get rid of the disease. But I don't know why I'm seeing this root. I'm literally seeing it reminds me of ginseng root. It could be ginseng in itself. I don't know, but it just reminds me of ginseng root. You know how ginseng is, how it has that like white root. It's very thick and stocky. It just reminds me of a root like that, but something of it, um, in some shape or form, I feel like this root not only kills the flu, but it almost makes your body receptive to never kind of getting it again. Now, I'm not exactly sure if this is something that's going to be on the market. I don't think it is. Just because when it comes to them people, I highly doubt it would be. But I get the sense that I don't know if it's amongst like either spiritualists or if it's going to be amongst people that are into herbal medicine, that they are going to prescribe it as something for the flu, but they're going to notice that it also actually like completely like takes out the disease itself. I also feel like somebody's going to pass away. I don't know why, but I feel like it's somebody kind of prominent. I'm not going to lie. That is going to end up passing away, but I'm not sure because I feel distance, at least distance from me from where this person's from. That's going to pass away because of this disease. But I feel like within the next week or two, you're going to start to know there's going to kind of be like some kind of breakthrough. So I think that what's going to end up happening that's going to kind of change the hysteria, especially the reactions from people, and just the fear that is going on around right now, is that there's going to be a couple people, a few good amount of people that are going to come forward that were infected with the disease, that are going to affected with the disease, that are going to come forward and say that they've been cured of the disease. So that's something that I see as well. I'm also getting a sense that I feel like it's going to cool down sometime next month, but something is going to sprout up again after that. But it's going to be quick, and like it's going to be like done and over before it's even mentioned. But I just kind of feel like in this time is, and I was talking about this in my 2020 yearly predictions, which I'm going to link it below. I feel like, tying back to the Moses times, freeing the slaves. As you know, like, anybody that's into, I think okay, I'm just going to break it down like this, because people could say Illuminati, people can say the elite, people could say different groups, but I like to work on the source of energy because we really don't know what's the truth. But I feel like the source of energy, the emblem of the energy, is think about the devil tarot card, okay? Now, not like thinking about the devil tarot card in the essence of it being the devil himself, but also just the emblems of what it is, being enchained, materialistic, addiction, being bound. What was another way I could say? This like the emblem of kind of being one track minded, the sexualized. I think that when I was talking about this in my reading, especially in my 2020 reading, I was bringing topics or focus on how we're going to start moving in a space of love. We're going to move into a space of love, us moving into a space of clarity, move in a space of kind of living life like life is too short. I think that there was a good era between 2010 and 2020 where it was all about the fast life. It was all about like live fast, die young. You know what I mean? I think that people are starting to move into a space of starting to appreciate love. And the first emblem of that's shown was when Kobe and his daughter died. People that were affected and impacted by that news. And the world being impacted by that news in itself, it brought a sense of unity when it came to people. It brought people into a space of realizing like, wow, if that can happen to Kobe, somebody that you think that is so powerful and has all this money, like we all know that that's not the truth. Like he's a man just like us, like he's a person just like how we are. But, we have to admit that when it comes to the social media world, when it comes to when we're watching people that have, a certain amount of prestige, we kind of almost look at them like they're untouchable, like they're almost invincible. Like, you know what I mean? We look at things that like literally like there's not a thing in the world that money can't buy. As long as you have money, then you're good to go. Um, but it goes back to just thinking like Adam's just living in theory. Like it's like that's not exactly a truth. At the end of the day, we're all God's children, and um, when God rings his bell, that's it. And I think that we're kind of coming in the space more of love and appreciation, and also like enjoying the sentiments of believing in a higher power and having hope. And I think that that's what we're kind of moving into for over the course of this decade. Is it's gonna be filled with a lot more love, a lot more realism, a lot more um understanding of that. Even if you want to attain wealth or attain certain things that are in the material realm, you know that the spiritual light of God, or whatever it is for you, I'm going to say God because I believe in God. That light is all that matters. We're also getting in a space that we're also getting a little bit more in touch with ourselves, and understanding ourselves more. I feel like there's a lot of healthy conversations that are starting to take place when it comes to resentment or hurt or pain. And I think, like I said, when it comes to the coronavirus, it's like it's come in a form of the many plagues, that kind of mirror the story of like Moses, to kind of switch people around and shake people up and realize like, hey, you watch the news and you see something happening in Iraq and you'd be like, well, that's Iraq, that ain't me. And something like this happened. It's like we all have a global worry, a care for what's actually going on. Because see, what people need to understand is that even when the devil tries to curse you, God is always blessing you. At the same time, God will use the devil to bless you. That's how it sounds crazy, but that's all equilibrium at the end of the day. You don't know if you don't know good, you won't know bad. If you don't know bad, you won't know good. But I do get the sense that like I feel like when it comes to this disease, of course, it's not only to have like a strong immune system, but also I'm also hearing that to keep your lungs clear, keep your lungs clear. So something that you can use to kind of keep your lungs clear is drinking mullein. That's a good herb to actually try to keeping your lungs clear and being able to like remove the mucus from your spirit, remove the mucus from your energy. Is what I'm also hearing. Another thing that I'm seeing that is really good is I'm hearing, of course, like flus, lots of fluid, and obviously lemon water or anything that is citrus like, and of course because they're high in vitamin C to kind of bring up your immune system. But I'm hearing something. I'm hearing something with the feet. What? Something with the feet. So what I'm hearing with the feet, I don't know why I just heard this, but I literally heard like I guess it's a grounding thing, just to be grounded, because I don't know why I literally saw feet being put into mud or putting it into dirt, which is obviously talking about grounding. So this is a time to obviously to stay grounded, to stay centered in your spirit. Because just because of the energy itself, you have to understand the power of manifestation as well. That because the whole world is being concerned about the situation and the whole world is kind of feeding into this hysteria with so much fear, that is also a great manifestation of giving the disease itself so much power. But like I said, what I did see is that I feel like when it comes to the disease, it says that it thrives more in cold weather. That it doesn't really prosper that much in the heat, because of course that flu season is usually during the wintertime. So that kind of ties in again to what I said. I feel like mid-April, depending on where you live, but around mid-April or so, there's going to be a little bit more warmth that is going to be in the air that's going to kind of diminish any worry about the disease itself. I don't know why I keep on hearing that there's going to be some kind of disease that's going to come up with something that has to do with water. I don't know why I'm hearing that. And I don't think it's going to be a pandemic, but I think that they're going to kind of classify it as such. Like, I feel like it's one of these things where you're going to start to notice that a lot of these diseases, here on out, where they were displayed as being more of like a continental threat, that they're going to kind of be more worldly. They're going to be more larger masses that have issues with that. But I definitely feel like when it comes to Italy, there's gonna be something that they're gonna put into the air. I don't know. I see like airplanes going over it and things being put into the air. But it's funny that how Italy, especially um, that Mediterranean Sea, that area, and keep in mind when it comes to Moses and parting the sea, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, that area in the Bible. It's funny how that works, but I do feel like it's gonna make its way to like the coast of Africa, and I'm hoping it's not Somalia. I hope it's not Ethiopia. I hope it's not Somalia because I just feel like those countries themselves cannot withstand that kind of disease coming their way. And that comes to obviously not just because and let's not be ignorant to the fact that because it's Africa that you think it's a poor country. I'm more or less concerned about the immunity of the country. That's what I'm concerned about. But I do get the sense that this is going to be something that is going to slow down very soon. Um, it's funny because I know like a lot of people are saying like Trump, everyone predicted like Trump getting he's been in contact with coronavirus. And I did mention in one of my videos, actually my Trump video, this was back in 2017, that I did see him stepping down because of an illness. I don't know. I see like, I think I said it in the chest area, but I see something with an illness. I'm not exactly sure if this is going to be the one that's going to take him out. Um, I don't know. I've kind of learned in life that, things don't just happen that easy, like wishful thinking. But at the same time, it's not my space to be wishing death on a man. But yeah, you know what I mean? But I do get the sense that it's, I mean, of course, like the precautions, keep washing your hands, make sure that your immune system is high, take your vitamin C's, take your roots, your necessary roots, try to eliminate mucus in the body. Like I said, mullein is a really good thing. Irish moss is very good. We say Irish moss because I'm Jamaican, but it's Irish moss. Um, what's the next one? Is it Irish moss or what's the next one again? What's the next one that's like Irish moss again? Um, Bladder whack. There we go. Bladder whack. Make sure you take your bladder whack. Um, Try ginseng. I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but I keep on seeing this root and it looks like ginseng to me. But take your necessary precautions and, make sure your herbs and cleansing your energy. What you need to understand when it comes to mucus. Everyone obviously knows about Dr. Sebi that the root to all diseases is mucus. But on a spiritual level, what people don't understand that mucus actually traps the energy of negativity. So for example, if somebody was bewitched, and they have, like there was work done on them, you would obviously do something to clear the mucus out of their head. And because the mucus actually attracts to thoughts or attracts to energy. So make sure that all the mucus in your body is clear out, child, so that it does not attract any diseases. Another thing that I wanted to touch on, when it comes to the corona disease is attacking this from a spiritual level. Okay, so we already know that this is an air-based disease. It's definitely and mainly it does block the air passages within our chest or whatever the case may be. So when it comes to air, when we talk about the element of air, we talk about the planet Mercury. Okay. Funny that how we are in the Mercury shadow period and literally shit is going haywire with this. Makes a lot of sense how everything starts to connect. But when it comes to that, especially during this time, when it comes to cleansing or protecting yourself or prayers or whatever the case may be against any diseases or anything like that, one thing that is really good to work with is frankincense and myrrh. Another thing that's really good to work with is obviously saging, okay, because saging does cleanse the air. And of course, burning eucalyptus, which is burning camphor in the air and the space. That's another good thing too. And obviously sending out prayers. So for every negativity that you hear about the disease, is always sending it out with positive affirmation and prayers. Of course, say it out loud because it is an airborne disease. So you want to be able to challenge the element with its own element to combat it. Okay. Um, I don't know why I keep on seeing that three-part thing. I don't even know why that makes sense. Three-part. Because like one, two, and then it goes like three. And it feels like when you remove this part and then you kind of blend two, it creates this. You know what I mean? Like that's literally the energy I'm getting from it. Um to combat this disease, it's not like you can't man make this. This comes from the ground. Like you have to get it from the ground. It comes from the ground. It's literally a root of something. But I feel like it's like a root of something that like it thrives in a lot of water. It like that's what I'm getting. That's why I thought it was ginseng because it looks like ginseng, but I'm not sure if it's ginseng at all. Um, but yeah, I would just say, guys, safeguard yourself. Like I said, I feel like by April 25th, this won't be an issue for us to really kind of worry about. Of course, we got to worry about and pray for the souls that have been affected by this disease. But it being like a hysteria, and causing things to change as much as it is, I would say about April 26th, 25th, things will start to turn around. But of course, I feel like there is going to be like a financial collapse in some way. It feels like a financial pause. So it feels like there's a bracket in a window where buying things will actually be a really good time to do it. But by the grace of God, you guys have the finances to do it. So like whether it be like buying a home or buying a certain property or whatever the case may be, there's gonna be like a small window. And I feel like it's within a 3-week window or so where things are gonna be fairly cheap. Or it's gonna be easier to kind of wiggle your way through. During that time, but then it kind of feels like after that things start to go up a little bit, but things kind of lack in a way. So let's don't be surprised with the energy of money or the energy of progression, depending if you're a business and stuff, that there is a bit of a delay. Because of course, like obviously things, no one wants to get anything out of China, but I see like a bit of a delay. It's going to take some time for kind of China to get back on their feet more on an export level, because not only is it because of like back order, but not just that, like people are going to be very apprehensive about getting anything from China from now. All right. So if you guys have any questions or concerns of what I see about coronavirus, please leave it in the comment box. Again, if you would like to get a personal reading with me, you can hit me up on any of my forums, whether it be email, Instagram, or Facebook. My rates and everything are available there. Again, if you haven't got a chance and it's your first time watching, be sure to subscribe to this video. So I do want to thank you so much for your time and rocking with me. May God bless you and the angels protect you. Good night.